2018 regular business meeting of the Cincinnati Board of Education. We welcome everyone and request everyone in the audience to please silence your cell phones and electronic devices. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Assistant Treasurer, Mrs. Tworick, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates.
Present.
Mrs. Bolton.
Present.
Mrs. Copeland-Dansby.
I am here.
Mr. Messer. Mr. Morowski.
Here.
Mr. Timmons.
Here.
Ms. Jones.
Here. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting March 7, 2018, special meeting March 9, 2018, special meeting March 12, 2018, business meeting at Westwood School, March 12, 2018, emergency special meeting, March 14, 2018, and special meeting March 15, 2018.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved as presented. I need a motion to approve a 48-hour waiver for committee minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Tworick, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates.
Aye.
Mrs. Bolton.
Aye. Yes.
Mr. Morowski.
Aye.
Mr. Timmons.
Aye.
Aye. Mrs. Bates, as Chair of the Policy Committee, please present the March 15, 2018 Policy Committee meeting report.
Yes. You all have the committee meeting minutes. You have not had a chance to review them, correct? Because they were presented this morning.
The committee minutes were presented this morning.
Right. So if you can take a minute.
Oh,
just
the revised minutes.
Right,
Yes,
right.
okay.
So if you
Yeah.
can just take a minute to take a look at it and see if there are any questions.
Well, I believe that there were, that all of the minutes were presented as revised, so.
Right.
I believe we can choose to defer the presentation of those minutes if we'd like.
Well, we are presenting, let's see, we are presenting resolutions number
In
2
regarding, yes.
today, so I would prefer that we just go ahead and accept these
That's right.
because we're going to be voting on the resolutions. That's why I just asked for a quick second to
Okay.
just take a
I hear
look,
you.
and if there are any questions, you could bring them up now or when the resolutions are presented.
Right. They were in our packet. I mean, they were presented to us, the revised version, this morning. I got you.
Right, okay. So I present the report as written for acceptance, and if there's discussion, we can take that up later when we present the resolutions on the revisions
Okay,
and the new resolution.
okay. It's been presented as the policy committees have been presented, the revised copy as written. Any discussion? Ms. Bolton, I'm sorry, Ms. Erica Copeland.
I'm Erica Copeland-Dansby. Page number 3, neighborhood analysis mapping. Can you explain, Ms. Bates?
Yeah.
3. Yes, I can explain that. We had discussion around, in particular, Pleasant Ridge Montessori, because there seems to be some, we're receiving data that there is a large number of requests for enrollment. It's a neighborhood school, so children and families have that right if they live within the neighborhood boundaries. And the suggestion was that we offer options as neighborhood options as well. Woodford, Paideia, in cultural arts, and also Silverton. And Mr. Miles reported, yes, it was Mr. Miles, reported that actually in practice, that's what the administration has been offering. So if a family wants to enroll their child in Pleasant Ridge Montessori, they've been offered the option of the other two, and that's been working very well. So we wanted to take a look at some other areas where those options could be presented and families would have more options within their neighborhood than just the neighborhood school and going into the magnet school lottery.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Ms. Bolton, as Chair of the Student Achievement Committee, please present the March 15th Student Achievement, the revised minutes.
Thank you very much. Yes, we had a somewhat shortened meeting and largely due to an executive session that followed it, and we appreciate both the administration and the members of the committee kind of taking a quick track, if you will, through a number of items. But I'll draw attention, as you see, we had a presentation regarding a revised charter for the Workforce Council. We sent it back to Workforce Council, Preschool Workforce Council, for a further revision. We also had a couple of presentations from the community, 3 of them to be in fact. One Village, which talks about kind of alternative services that can be offered to students that are, in the grips of many issues, both discipline and social issues. And indeed, Assistant Superintendent Miles was very helpful in talking a lot about that, plus member Moralski had introduced this person and this program to us, and of course, member Timmons is familiar with a number of the people that work through this program, and it looks like it might be something that can be useful for our transitioning of A to E, A to S. We also had a very thorough presentation by the CANS folks, the Clifton School folks, talking about what it is that they're planning to do, and the action that was recommended there was that, and I believe that Ms. Worley has agreed to accept this effort, is to line up eventually very soon a kind of a public effort to make clear that there is a financial arrangement between the Clifton Cultural Arts Center and the CPS and an opening date for the new school. We also had folks, including students, from, I think, both Hughes Zoo School and also from Walnut, present regarding climate action, and they wanted to recommend some actions that we take, and we've are looking into those actions. We also had the play-by-play, date-by-date, the later start effort regarding the community conversation, the later starts for our 14 high schools. We also had a bit of a report from the working group on LSDMC that's revising, making suggestions to Ms. Worley about changing the LSDMC handbook. Mr. Miles said it's about time to also start looking at our character and support guide, code of conduct. That's when we really go into it pretty heavily by April, and then spend the rest of the school year working through that so it's ready for publication. We had an update on administrative evaluation, and everybody's in the timeline and meeting those time requirements by the state. We had a fantastic effort presented to us from the Community Learning Center for folks that run the cross-boundary leadership teams and all the services that are rendered. And then we also talked about the CFT contract. There are 3 references to the Student Achievement Committee and the CFT contract, and we looked into what we would like to be doing about those if indeed we have to do that. Which is about school climate, special ed committee, and discipline liaison. Those things are in play, and didn't know whether or not we should hear reports about those. And most importantly, we heard that on April 17th, the state of Ohio is coming for a hearing. It'll be held at the Community Action Agency regarding the state strategic plan for education in Ohio, and we want to make sure we all attend that and make sure that the urbans are heard from Southwest as well as the suburbans. And then finally, we had some previous updates that you've seen before, and we just kind of moving those along, and didn't quite get through the science curriculum update, and that will be continued in April. I submit as written.
Thank you. Do board members have questions or comments? Okay. And I would just want to note that the Finance Committee was canceled this month, so I'm assuming that will be rescheduled. Ms. Bates?
I'm not sure if it will be rescheduled because we requested that the reports be made in writing, and they're indicated on the report that they're available in the board office. I would ask Ms. Davis to include them in the permanent record, but Mr. Kearney gave us a written report, as he typically does. The treasurer gave us a written report, and the work plan is written. So, and Preschool Promise did not have a finance report. So everything, the business was conducted, it just was not conducted in session. It was all in writing, so it should become a big part of the public record, but I don't believe it's going to be rescheduled.
Okay, so it will be included in the minutes from last month?
On March 19th.
On March
So it would
19th.
be attached to this
Okay.
document.
All righty. Okay, we need a voice vote to accept the committee reports, the revised reports as written. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Thank you. And Ms. Copeland Dansby, I do know your name. Thank you.
That was 10 minutes ago.
I know. Presentation, Superintendent Mitchell.
Yes, this morning we are super excited to talk to you about equity. We are making a presentation which will be provided by our Assistant Superintendent, Susan Bunty, as well as an external group that we're working with called Woven Traditions. Typically, quite honestly, we really like to make sure that we weave equity through all of our work, but at the same time, we thought it was important to do an explicit presentation specifically on equity so that you can see the work that is done so far, but we will continue to weave it through all of our work. So I will turn it over to Susan Bunty.
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Happy snowy spring day. We are very glad to be here this morning. So we're going to spend the next few minutes taking a look at our involvement with equity across our district. Thank you. It is a commitment that we all take incredibly seriously as we address the needs of each and every learner. As you know, we've focused for the last few years on large initiatives that explicitly address equity, including My Tomorrow and our Vision 2020 efforts across our neighborhood schools. We also recognize that equity, in addition to addressing issues around race and poverty, also addresses issues with sexual orientation, with diverse learners, and as a result, we created our Spencer School to address the needs of diverse learners who are gifted. We've also opened SLIFE classes for students who are immigrants, and we've taken a look at how to better address opportunities for children who have mental health issues. We know, though, that said, that there is much that we can continue to do, and we are deeply appreciative of the board policy 2255 around equity and excellence in education that lays that foundation for our work. This year, an equity committee was established, and in addition, we've met monthly with our principal leadership and our performance leadership team to dig deeply into the topic of equity and how we can begin using equity as a lens for all of our decision making. As we entered into that work, though, and having honest and incredibly courageous conversations about what that means to each one of us as decision leaders in the district, we recognized that in order to go forward, we had to do some significant work internally and as a group to recognize our own biases and to develop a common language and a philosophy and a deep understanding of what that would look like going ahead for Cincinnati Public Schools. So as we engaged in that work,
In an effort to create tools and strategies and refine our practices, we engaged with some partners who I am thrilled to introduce today. Mr. William Shoecraft, who is in the audience, as well as Monica Marsh and Marla Marsh, have been working closely side by side with us as we continue to push ourselves to be the very best we can be for our students going forward, to provide equity, access, and opportunity. They're going to take a few moments to share with you the work that has been done thus far and the work that lies ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Monica Marsh, and it's my sister Marla.
Oops, sorry, I'm Marla Marsh. Hi.
We're just going to speak a few moments about the work that we do. Our curriculum is entitled Woven Traditions. The work is based and copyrighted through Did You Know Publishing here in Cincinnati. We work with what's known as cultural competency, being able to interact effectively across cultures and across races, and understanding even between what appears to be one race, there are multiple cultures that need to be addressed. And our strong commitment is that when students come into a place that we call school, that they don't leave there or have to leave their culture at the door, that their culture comes in and becomes a part of that environment, a part of that curriculum. So we work with people to focus on that. Our framework that we use was developed by Dr. Terry Cross, this cultural proficiency continuum, which is a journey. Cultural competency or cultural proficiency is not a place that you get to and stay, but it's a place where you will move on that continuum depending upon the situation where you are and in the experiences that you have. Cultural proficiency, this continuum can be looked at as an institution, organization, or on a visual basis. So there are the 6 points there. The three on the far side, change mandated for tolerance. Those 3 points are destruction, incapacity, and blindness. People will move up along those points. The transformation piece moves in with pre-competence, competence, and proficiency. When one is at proficiency, one is holding culture in high esteem and able to respond and adapt to change as needed. Our offerings alone our offerings were designed for a curriculum to be purposeful and intentional. And we've established a partnership for professional learning to be sustained 3 to 5 years. A tool chest includes a plethora of over 80 support tools and a variety of self-assessments, including pre and post tests for our learners, for our staff, our administrative staff, our parents, and all stakeholders involved. What we're currently working on with the district, with the performance team and equity team and our principals, we're going through 5 modules for culturally competent leader. The first module encompasses learners being continual learners and courageous. Then we're focused on being data-driven and transparent. The third module, inclusive and sensitive. The fourth module, being connected and strategic in planning. And the last one, enthusiastic and realistic. And each module is designed to build upon the other. With the equity team, with all of those groups involved, we are focused on equity, of course. And equity is not the same as equality, as you can see demonstrated in this picture here. Sometimes you have to be, in order to be fair, you have to approach folks differently. You have to look at people individually where they are. You want the outcomes to be the same, but in order to reach those outcomes, sometimes you have to adjust to what the approaches that you're going to use. In order to make things equitable, we look at establishing benchmarks and standards in the district. We have tips for a successful cultural competency planning process, because planning is critical. We work with teams to establish this plan and to guide them on the journey. Marla, if you want to chime in,
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Now, this piece here, this piece is near and dear to our hearts because Marla and I are both retired from education. My background, for the most part, has been at Butler Tech as a high school principal, and also in the last few years, I supervised special services for the district. Marla was in Middletown all her whole career, mainly as an elementary and middle school principal. And we've been focused on equity for a long time in this work, over 15 years. But our frustration is that it didn't get into the classroom where it needed to be. We couldn't find the tools for us of where it needed to be, so we decided to write them. And when we wrote them, we were fortunate enough that Mr. Shoecraft was willing to hear us. So this is the foundation for our work, the 6 domains that we want in a schoolhouse of where we take staff through. And so they're listed. They're just all 6 listed there. Our professional development is designed to be embedded into the work that's already existed and within a district, nothing that's to be added on. It needs to be in tandem with everything that's going on with 21st century learning, character education, focusing on the Common Core standards, leadership development, and so much more. Again, our purpose was not to put more on a person's plate, but to understand that cultural competency is the plate. If you're focused on looking through an equity lens and everything that you do, all of that stuff naturally falls in line. So that's how we decided to write the curriculum. We're also proud that our course is we offer a 45-hour course at The Ohio State University, which is near and dear to our hearts because that's our alma mater. And it is now the original with those 6 domains. That course is now taught at Ohio State with all incoming freshmen because they understand, and our professor there, Dr. Whittington, has always stated that cultural competency is for your living, learning, and working environment. Everything that we do needs to be viewed through an equity lens, and so that's the part that's near and dear to our hearts, at least, anyway.
And I would say our relationship thus far with the district has been wonderful. We've worked with the principals 3 times, I believe, thus far, the equity team as well as the performance team. And everyone is really engaged, and the principals have taken so much of the work that we've done thus far right back to their buildings, working with their staff. So it's been a great experience.
So you may be wondering what is next. We are going to continue to complete the modules that have been developed by our friends at Woven Traditions and all of our leadership teams. So with our principals, with our performance leadership teams, and our equity team. And then we're moving into those tools that will help us shape our work. Next year, we are very excited that we have 16 instructional leadership teams that will also go through this process so we can deepen the work not only at a systems level, but within the school. But we're simultaneously going to continue providing training for all principals that they can carry on through their work. It has been an absolute joy to be able to participate in this. It is, we recognize the importance of this work and how it drives absolutely everything that we do. So we are grateful for the opportunity. What questions may we answer for you?
Thank you for your presentation. Board members, do you have any questions or comments? Ms. Bolton.
Thank you very much. I'm a huge fan of Woven Traditions, and I like that terminology, cultural proficiency, almost more than competence. It's a higher level of it, and I appreciate it. And I don't like it just because I know Mr. Shoecraft and I taught his children, but the reality is that this is so needed. And I know this is an outgrowth of student achievement some years ago and all your work at Pleasant Ridge Montessori. And obviously this is the plate and the building block inside the classroom. I do throw out the challenge, though, to the board and to the superintendent on the equity piece, to use, again, the board resolution on equity and excellence as the guide. And then also in April, we have the first budget retreat. And I'm hoping that beyond all this good work that you're doing, that budget information is going to start to reflect equity choices and realities. And I think that makes a big difference. So I also know that both the Great City Schools and also National School Board Association emphasize the issue of equity and have statements regarding equity. And one of the areas that is of great interest too is that there's I think part of the, I think it's law, is the effort regarding staffing. and the equitable distribution of our teachers and our professional staff. And I know that that's an issue that's before a lot of people, and I know that CFT is thinking about that, working on it. It's called Comprehensive Educator Equity Plans, and that's all part of the Every Student Succeeds, so I think that's another area to focus. But this is a great start. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Once again, thank you so much for keeping us updated with our equity plan, and we appreciate the reports that we look forward to. We can see the growth in that policy, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Bates, I'm sorry, let me back up. Are there any kudos?
Kudos.
Mr. Morosky, I knew.
Yeah, I always have some kudos. So last night I was fortunate enough to be at City Hall with Councilman Sittenfeld and Young, former CPS Principal Craig Hockenberry, current superintendent at Three Rivers, and Pat Bruns, who's our state board rep for this part of the state. And we were listening to students' concerns regarding gun violence in their school and safety issues. And so my kudo is specifically to the students, one of whom is here today, my friend Matthias from Hyde Park School. Not only was he there last night, he's at a board meeting today. You get double kudos. Matthias spoke very eloquently. He was the youngest student there speaking. And we had students from Gamble, Walnut, SCPA, Hyde Park School, as noted, and Clark. And so kudos to those students for taking the time out to come and let us know what's important. And also to the three teachers I saw there, Krista Edmondson, Krista Taylor, and Bo Wheatley from Gamble. That's what our teachers do on a daily basis, put in extra time. And I gave them a shout out last night, and I want to give them a shout out today because that's real education, to spend that time when you could be with your family, to go to City Hall and make sure your elected leaders hear you. And it was really inspiring. And I just want to give a special shout out and kudos to our students and teachers who were there.
Thank you. Thank you for the kudo, and thank you for representing the board and the district. Ms. Bates.
Yes, and I have the, okay, I have retirements to acknowledge, and we have like a page full of retirements. So they will be at the end of the school year, but obviously they've been applied for and approved. From our certificated personnel, Sherry Lynn Adams-Davis, Anthony E. Barkley, David J. Bowers, Carla J. Burris, Mary C. Klein, Beverly A. Davis, Joseph Del Prince, Linda L. Ewald, Rolinda A. Gather, Joyce E. Galbraith, William J. Gray, Joanne Guido, C. Lynn Hanson, Donald L. Hawkins, Terry A. Hyatt, Peggy M. Hawk, Lori A. Krieg, Sarah L. Langenderfer, Pamela J. Lewis, Julianne A. Patterson, Brenda M. Peabody, Julia K. Rampy, David T. Roth, Douglas P. Sawan, Linda M. Sawan, Lynn A. Schmidt, Carol A. Shuttlecotty, Martha L. Walsh, Barbara P. Ward, Marceline S. Winfrey, and from our civil service personnel, Blanche Lockett. So with that list of retirees, I want to wish each and every one of them on behalf of the board congratulations and thank you for your service to our children.
Thank you, Ms. Bates. We're at the part of our agenda where we hear the public. When your name is called, please come up to the front mic. Our Assistant Treasurer, Ms. Tworick, will be the timekeeper. Each speaker has 3 minutes. When your name is called, once again, come up to the front, and we're gonna, because we have quite a few people who have requested to speak, we ask that you please pay attention to the bell. I don't want to cut anybody off, but we do want to hear everybody. And I am going to call your name in threes, so if you could please hear your name and come up to the front here, and then you'll follow the person who's speaking. Barry Cholak, Craig Rosen, Matthias Knudsen, or Knudsen,
My name, excuse me, my name is Barry Cholak. I've been here quite a few times before. I was going to give you a lecture about tax abatement, but it seems like other people have done a very good job of it before. I just want to remind you that the existing agreement between the city and the school board doesn't give the school board any authority. That is, the full decision about who gets tax abatement and who doesn't is the city's. And under the agreement, the city does not even have to ask the school board what it thinks about it. It's a commitment. So if there's further discussions about how we should work together, well, what it suggests is if you're going to deal with this thing about tax abatement, you need to pull the city into it, because they, 9 councilmen, make the full decision about how tax abatement is allowed. Under the agreement, the 25% is set. That is, and I guess you'd have to ask your attorneys whether that agreement allows the city, not the school board, allows the city to make a difference in regard to that amount. That is, can it raise it to 35% or can it reduce it down to 10%? But those decisions, I would assume, have to be made only by the city, not the school board. As I said, the school board has only information from it. It has no decision-making authority. For the last 10 years, I've been going to city council trying to change that kind of an arrangement, and they keep putting it off till 2018. There will be some negotiations, I assume, by your attorneys and sort of internal kind of discussions on how to rearrange that agreement. And there's no reason that in the future the school board has to have required consent on some of those agreements. Following that up, I just want to say that I think there are many, many opportunities to work out in regard to an agreement on a stadium in Taft. And I just would hope that there is further discussion. As an old-time planner who worked for the city for 25 years in the planning department and in the economic development department, I think there could be exciting opportunities for the West End to have funds to do some of the things that they long should do. And I just don't want you to lose the opportunity to make that happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, I just want to tell you, I've been a constant problem with hearing, and I think you probably heard me when I came here. You've got a new system, and it's actually wonderful. It really works very well, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sholak. Mr. Rosen.
Good morning, Superintendent, Assistant Treasurer, President Jones, board members, administrators, those in attendance. I just wanted to thank Cincinnati Public Schools for attending last night's listening session, and in particular, Board Member Morawski for showing up. It was a very moving and informative night to hear these students speak. I also appreciate the resolution supporting school safety and reducing gun violence. I do ask that when you pass this, that you also consider reaffirming what Cincinnati Federation of Teachers has said, that they do not want teachers to be responsible for carrying guns in their classroom. Second, on the resolution for FC Cincinnati, I hope you might add in for a little more clarity that replacing of the stadium, the new stadium would come first before construction is to begin on the other stadium, so that there is no lost opportunities for our school children. And in addition to that, that it would be at least $10 million. So if there is a delay in building the stadium, that some of the overages that inflation might cause would not hamper our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rosen. Mr. Knutson, did I pronounce your name right? Okay.
Hi, my name is Matthias Knudsen, and I'm a proud fourth grader at Hyde Park School. I am also a student representative on Student Council. I'm 9 years old, and I live in Oakley. Like you just heard, last night at City Hall, Councilmember Sittenfeld hosted a student voice open mic about gun safety and school security. I would like to thank Board Member Murawski for being there, and also thank CPS for working hard to keep us safe. Since school is closed today, I thought I would come today and share what I said with you too. I would like to share about our school lockdown a couple of weeks ago. It was not a drill, it was scary. So when the lockdown alarm went off, our teacher was surprised, but we immediately barricaded the classroom door. He then told us to take pencils as a weapon to distract the active shooter. Next, he passed out scissors and then told us to spread it out around the room. We used to all huddle in the back of the room, but this made us one big easy target. I thought I was smart to be in the middle, not in the back where I couldn't escape, or at the door where I might have to sacrifice myself so others might escape. My friend decided to grab a chair and gave me his scissors. We had to make a plan. I would throw my 4 scissors, then he would throw the chair. Then I could throw the pencil and scissor and run. After a couple hours, the lockdown was over, and we were told to go back to work. This was very hard to do. I'm 9 years old, and I should not have to go through this, but we do. Please pass gun safety policy, because I don't want guns in all schools from teachers or bad people. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next 3 speakers, Danny Bailey, Tabitha D., Jim Strayhorn. Mr. Bailey, is there Danny Bailey? Okay.
I'm not sure when the time starts, so I'm going with now. I am not a Mr. or a Miss. I am a Mux. I am a Muxter. I am agender non-binary, and I have been erased throughout humanity's culture repeatedly. And I am afraid that my erasure I will see anew in this instance. If we bring in a gendered, specifically gendered league into West End, what are we going to show our children? I don't have children. I don't even. Point is, our future. We're going to show them all these men or designated males running around playing, and why can't we? And that is where I am coming from. I'm afraid, not even with this FC Cincinnati stadium, that my erasure is being perpetuated. Even if we do not bring a stadium or FC Cincinnati, to West End, I still think that my erasure is present in West End. And somehow we have to focus on that and erase erasure of non-binary peoples. I do not know where the clock is.
You will hear a ring.
So, my piece is that I hear sexual orientation, but I don't hear gender identity. That is erasure to me. And I'm really afraid that me will be erased again. And I'm just pointing this out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If there are any comments or concerns that you want to address with me personally, I am open to that discussion.
Ms. Bailey.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Strayhorn? Jim Strayhorn?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for calling me up. Of course, as pastor, I got another place to be at. Amen. And so I won't take up all my 3 minutes. I'll let somebody else take a couple of those minutes as well. Listen, I just wanted to say to Cincinnati School Board, I know you guys got a lot of good work to do. You've been doing great work already. And I also understand that it's hard to be in these positions. I've been there, I understand it. But I want to encourage you to continue to stay faithful to the task. Now, if FC Cincinnati is going to come, and if you guys come to some type of agreement, I agree with that. I'm all for it. But I also want to make sure that the CBA Community Benefit Agreement that you want to put as far as being a part of the agreement that you make with them, so that we can make sure that that CBA is very well represented by the residents who are there and all those stakeholders who are there as well, and not just a few folks who are trying to put something together. But it should be across gender, across all residents to have a say and to be a part of that CBA. And I just want to make sure that we do that and that it's done fairly. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you. Okay, Tabitha D's going to come up, and as she's coming up, we have John Walter, Kelly Prather, Michelle Dillingham.
Good day, everyone. My name is Tabitha D, and I am from the West End community. I had a few questions or concerns. I wanted to make sure that it would be in the new plan coming out. My questions and concerns would be, is there a written plan on how the children from the community will be able to participate in the program as a helper, an intern, someone who's looking for a job in that industry in the future? And if so, when jobs are provided, will they be addressed through CPS or through the FCC program for the young students in the community?
Okay, so Ms. D has a series of questions, and did you put your contact information on the sheet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we will ask someone, we'll make an assignment and ask someone from administration to give you a call.
Yes, ma'am.
To kind of explain and talk with you about your individual questions.
Thank you all for
Okay.
hearing me out.
Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Mr. Walter.
Hello, I'm John Walter, a longtime resident of Over the Rhine. Wanted to convey an act of generosity that the Lindner family did 10 years ago for CPS. My daughter was at Fairview School, the old Fairview School, and CPS was running into a budget crunch. There was a $110,000 gap to allow the arts and music program to move forward at Fairview School. And the parents, I was on the committee, we had to raise $110,000. Everybody wrote checks, $100, $200, $300, whatever people felt like they could, and we stopped at $85,000. We were $25,000 short. One of the people on our committee just randomly wrote a letter to the lenders, and within days, we got a $25,000 check. My daughter was definitely benefited from that. She's a junior at Walnut Hills right now. She's taken art history because of, I think, her background in art from Fairview. She's taking art history AP next year. I think that generosity, if FC is allowed to go into the urban core, I think we're going to see just a blessing. As far as I was a soccer coach for my daughter for about 10 years in Say Soccer, and what it does as far as developing young women from a competitive standpoint, camaraderie, just self-worth. It's amazing to see these young girls, you know, move forward and as a team. And I think that FC in the West End will be a conduit for bringing a sport that isn't that popular in the urban core, you know, to the urban core. I've been a member of the Over the Rhine Council for really since the mid-'80s, and on and off. Been on the board recently. I'm not now. I'm on some of the committees, and what I've seen over the last 2 years is very disturbing. From a, it seems like every development that comes forward that has anything to do with people taking a risk, private equity, private investment, it is pushed back in a very aggressive way by the Over the Rhine Council in a very similar fashion with a lot of the same people as what has been in the news, this community benefits agreement of $50 million. One example is the development across from Rothenberg School that was 30 market rate houses by North Point Development. The community council treated that developer so bad that he walked out, never came back. So CPS loses all that tax money, and well, I guess I have to stop.
Thank you, Mr. Walter. Ms. Prather.
Good morning. To the president, to the board, thank you all so much for allowing me to speak. I know that I've been here a couple times before and my position remains the same. I know that FC Cincinnati, well, I believe in my heart that FC Cincinnati should pay their fair share. However, they continue to negotiate with you all and kind of wear you down. You want them to pay their fair share, $2 million per year. They're not even willing to meet you where you are. Mayor Mark Mallory said that if the West End residents do not want FC Cincinnati in their community, it won't go there. Jeff Birding even said that if they don't want it in their community, it won't go there. Last night, 50 members of the council said that they did not want it in the community, and so I think that we should hold them to their words and not put FC Cincinnati in the West End. I do understand that at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for your citizens. I get it. I understand that we need investment in the community. The narrative is that if FC Cincinnati does not build in the West End, there won't be any development. Mayor John Cranley said that there's $28 million that could be put into the West End for redevelopment, business opportunities. You all just had a wonderful presentation on equity where they discussed equity, access, and opportunity for programs within the school system. Historically, you know that with development projects, there has been a lack of inclusion, there has been inequity, there has been inaccessibility, and no opportunity for minorities, specifically MBEs and WBEs, and definitely not for the students. This is not what education is about. We trusted you to come in and to do right by the students. being a school board member does not mean or should not represent going in and negotiating land swaps, selling school buildings. It should be about providing the best education possible to our students. So again, I ask you to vote no. 4 votes will dead this proposal. In the media, they've talked about how the issue of FC Cincinnati building in the West End is a dead issue. It's not a dead issue. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here today fighting for this. I'm begging you, please say no to FC Cincinnati building at Stargell Stadium. We need our community. Just like Oakley initially said that they didn't want in their backyards. There's 6,700 residents in the West End who need homes. My concern continues to be displacement. There's no way FC Cincinnati is going to build at Stargell Stadium and there not be some level of displacement. I don't believe that one person should have to lose their home as a result of a business pushing into their community. So again, I ask you to say no, FC and West End. Please stand with the community, put people over profits, put your pupils over profits, and show us that you really care about the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Michelle Dillingham had to leave early, and she asked me to speak in her place. I'm Sue Mangan. When these decisions come up, typically we get the sales pitch from the developers about how the community's going to benefit. And that's coming from a perspective of financial dollars that are going to create a magic turnaround. Sometimes what we forget, often in fact, what we forget is people's lives are being affected. Community is more than about dollars. It's about people identifying with a place, being committed to that place, being proud of that place. And I see that in the West End right now. They've risen up and shown that they are a strong community, and they don't want FC Cincinnati to come in and make promises that they aren't going to keep, because they've seen what happened with the casino, with other stadiums. The promises look good early on. The business people have the advantage. They have a lot of money to hire lobbyists and salespeople that are well trained in the arts of coercion and marketing. But the public doesn't have that. They have to depend on the integrity of their elected officials when these public-private partnerships are made. And it is, it's heartening to see that you didn't fall for the FC Cincinnati railroad that came in wanting to quickly convince everybody that this was the best thing that could possibly happen to the city. I'm glad that you didn't accept the bribes early on, but it is important they pay their fair share. Everybody else, property owners pay their fair share. Why can't business people do that? Back in the '99, when the TIF agreements were determined, we needed more investment in the city for development than we need now. What we need now is transportation for people to get to good paying jobs. We need schools that are equitable. The presentation was encouraging to see that that's happening here. We need to do something about homelessness. It's the worst it's ever been in Cincinnati. Those children go to our schools. Having a stadium in the West End is not going to address any of those issues. The jobs will be low-paying jobs, and not for the people that live there. Only in the beginning, when they're building and constructing, they're promising something.
Thank you.
I appreciate your standing up to this.
Thank you. Marlena Brookfield, Mark Casey, Keith Blake.
good morning, or I guess afternoon now. So I don't think I can say anything more eloquently than anyone else has said throughout this whole thing. But if I could say something positive about it, it's that it's really helped bring to the front burner this issue of fair funding for public education. And I'm very glad to hear that you guys are sticking to your guns, sticking to this resolution, and what you have said, these are our conditions, this is the amount of money that we are owed, and we want the community benefits agreement. Please, please stick to your guns. I urge you. We can't back down from that. I just have to say, if Mr. Birding and his people really want to make a difference in the West End or the community of CPS as a whole, pay your fair share. Pay your fair share and truly make an investment in our community, in our school, in our children, in our future. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Mark Casey. I'm messing with this laptop. I'm Mark Casey. Me and my family live in the West End. I live in Parktown on West Liberty. Last time I was here, I didn't get to thank you just for the opportunity to speak. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I know I'm here to talk about FC, but I appreciate the equity presentation I heard. My wife worked a lot on that with her job, so I really thought they did a good job too. But thank you for letting me speak. The last 2 months for me and my family have just been difficult. Like, I got the news, about FC from the local news. Like, it kind of came out of nowhere. And I just went to the community to kind of get answers. And so, we had a meeting, like every week. I mean, sometimes twice a week we were meeting together and our communities were just trying to tell us the best what was going on. And I'm just trying to interpret it the best, for my family. And really trying to balance respect between all of them, because I really do respect all of our community leaders. But through this process, I've just kind of felt just real powerless. And no matter what I thought, or because I'm seeing that not only myself, but people from my community, we're pretty much saying the same thing. Some of us may be badly informed. Some of us just may be just scared. And so we're saying things that's this is probably not the best language, or we're mad at you, we're mad at, and so I get that we're all coming off in different ways, but what can't be overlooked is that we're all saying the same thing, majority-wise, and we just feel powerless. We feel like we're basically just at the mercy of your decision for what could affect the community that we live in. Sorry. Someone brought up before that Jeff Burton said that if the community didn't want it, he would not come. I asked him that. Last month at our West End Community Council meeting, I stood up and I said specifically, if the majority voice is no, will you still come? He put the mic to his mouth and he said no. Last night, we had a vote, and it was 2 votes came after him, so it was actually 52 that said no, 10 said yes, and it was 5 extensions. The majority voice is no. It's just, so I just want to keep focusing on that, but I'm not naive. Some of us who are saying yes, I think, are just scared that it's going to come anyway. So they're just trying to do the best they can to try to look on the positive side of it. So if that's the case, I would really want them to take the community benefits agreement serious. But to be clear, I don't want them to come. Thank you.
Mr. Blake.
Good morning. My name is Keith Blake. I'm the president of the West End Community Council. As others have shared, last night the Community Council took a vote, and it was 50-10 with 5 abstentions that the Community Council did not want the stadium to come to the West End. We took a second vote. The membership recognized that the decision is not necessarily ours, and our vote does not represent a veto. They also voted 49. Let me get this right. 49 for, 5 against, and 1 abstention, that if the stadium should come to the West End, that the Community Council wanted to take the lead on participating in the CBA. I have not been present at any of these other meetings prior to this simply because I was aware of the sentiment in the council. I'm here today and going forward, should the stadium come to the West End, the Community Council wants to be involved with the CBA. Thank you.
Thank you. Jocelyn C., Ernestine Hill, Marcy Casey.
I just went. That was, I'm in the store away. Does it say M-A-R-Q?
Oh, Marcy Casey? That wasn't you.
Oh, sorry. Maybe somebody else named Mark. There's somebody last name Casey. Yeah, I did.
Okay, you are Mark. Okay, so it's Marcy.
Mark. I spelled it with
Mark, I got you. This looks like Marcy. I'm sorry. Does that look like Marcy? Jocelyn C.
Oh, hi. This is the first CPS board meeting that I've ever been to. I moved to Cincinnati in 2014 to get my master's in anthropology at UC, and I stayed because I am really inspired, like, all the time by folks who live in Cincinnati and the community that exists here. And that's part of why I feel pretty strongly that the West End has a lot of needs, having a grocery, laundry, and affordable housing, but this stadium is not one of them. It would directly result in displacement, gentrification, which in my mind I'm defining as development that is not rooted in the needs of the local inhabitants. And there's a lot of research out there that discusses specifically sports stadiums funded by local governments and how they do not often have economic benefits to the local communities. There's this really good quote from University of Chicago economist Alan Sanderson: if you want to inject money into the local economy, it would be better to drop it from a helicopter than invest it in a new ballpark. And so some of those economic studies I was talking about include Coates and Humphreys 2003, BAAD, B-A-A-D-E 2000, just to name a couple. You can look them up on Google Scholar. But I guess I think that selling out the West End will not further any kind of equity that would be, a goal of y'all's currently. And I guess also, there's probably an argument to be made that, the problems of the West End are more than the school board can address, and that's valid, maybe a lot to take on, but watching development in other parts of the city, especially over the Rhine, has sort of made it clear to me that we cannot rely on or wait for private development to make positive social change happen. And I also think that drawing stark divisions between areas of your social life isn't productive and doesn't acknowledge the intersectionality of people's lives. Everything is political. And I also think that ultimately, if sort of the bargaining back and forth stuff that's been going on, I guess, between this group and FC Cincinnati, are they gonna move? What's their next option? I guess that isn't really clear to me, but most of the time, the sports teams will not move. And anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ernestine Hill. I'm a resident in City West. The first time I came across developers. It was in Detroit, Michigan. It was 1977. I had just had a baby. I lost my home, my job, and my children on that day. When they came through and they gave me a $50 voucher, a slap in the face, and 2 weeks to get off their property. I came to Cincinnati. I moved into Laura Homes in the Lincoln Courts. Again, I was faced with the same situation where they came through, Hope 6, promised us everything that they was gonna do, a wallet full of lies, and just broken dreams and hopes. They told us that we could have property out there on Lynn Street. I remember when Heavy's was there, Vince Martin, the meat market. They said we can do all that over again. It didn't happen. Now I'm faced again with the same scenario where the developers come through, promise us all these things, and we get nothing. I'm 60 years old. I can't keep moving. I can't keep being afraid that my house is going to be taken away from me because I rent. I've paid a lot of money in rent, and I have nothing to show for it. And there's nothing in place for people like me. I do not want the stadium where I live at. It's not the people that, like Jeff Birding, it's the people that's gonna come behind them. In a minute, I am not gonna be able to afford to live in the West, in City West. They got $500,000 homes they're getting ready to build. I'm afraid. I'm scared. I'm asking you to please say no. I don't want to go through this again. I am tired. Everywhere I go, I am asked to leave, and you cannot tell me that what they're getting ready to do, they're not going to tear down some stuff. So please say no. Thank you.
Our next three, Allie Graff, Tia Brown, Alexis Kidd.
I guess I'm going to make a few points, but I want to start off with how many times this board has talked about transparency. I wasn't surprised, but I was still disappointed that last week you all went into a special executive session and did not allow the public to come to the beginning of the meeting. I know you legally have the right to go into executive session, but legality does not equal good morals, and it definitely does not equal transparency. Like, it's pretty simple that executive sessions are not transparent. And another thing, well, to go on, I think we should talk about consent. I definitely don't believe that you have the consent of the neighborhood of the West End, maybe even the larger community, to make this land swap with FC Cincinnati. And because without a bunch of mental gymnastics, I'm sure you know that when your meetings are highly attended, that the public's probably not very happy because we don't really come out en masse to tell you that things are going well. So you should probably know that, like, the community is not happy with this. The community does not want the stadium. And furthermore, I'm sure you've read the statement that FC Cincinnati released on Friday, saying that they do not want this, they are not going to put the stadium in the West End. And logically, I see no reason for this body to approve the proposed resolution regarding FC Cincinnati. This board should also just end this conversation here, maybe with a proposal to just say no to the stadium in the neighborhood. I think that if you do pass this resolution, that you would encourage FC Cincinnati to go back on their word, and I don't think that that puts a good example forward for the students. That if FC Cincinnati doesn't win the neighborhood, then why would CPS pass this resolution going forward with tax abatements in a stadium? That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Tia Brown.
Hello, I'm Tia Brown, West End resident. Thank you for this opportunity to speak again. I write down my notes because I get up here and get nervous and forget some stuff that I want to say, so please excuse me looking down. I want to thank the board for holding strong to their requirements of FCC paying their fair share of taxes, and also requiring that FCC work with a broad representation of a united coalition fighting for the West End on a community benefits agreement. We've learned through attending these many meetings that regardless of what the community votes, the ultimate decision makers are you all and the City of Cincinnati City Council. We've also learned that regardless of what FCC is saying and what the media is saying, that the possibility of the stadium coming to the West End is still alive. I understand how boards work, and when you have a vote on the table, you might discuss it privately and you may come to your conclusion prior to the meeting. But I ask that you stay strong to your commitment of openness and transparency with the community. The community developed community benefits agreement, I feel, is the best way to ensure the West End has a seat at the table and to have the proper protection from developers. Thank you.
Thank you. This kid.
Thank you once again for this opportunity to speak for you all. I want to thank you all again, just like Tia, to reiterate the fact that you all have stood your ground and continue to stand. I'm asking that you would continue to stand. The community did vote last night, the Western community. I sent it out like I promised. I told community members I would send it to you all this morning, which I did, so that you all could see that the community did stand and say that they are not interested in the stadium. The majority of community at the community council spoke against it. But I also want to speak about the second part of your requirement is a CBA. I know that Mr. Birding is drafting his own, and that is not how CBAs work. CBAs work that there is a coalition of community members and groups that come together. They provide the document and pass it on to the developer, and then that negotiation happens. What he's doing is backwards, and it's not a true CBA. And so we're asking that he follows a true gold standard that our council member Mann said that he wants to see, and hopefully that you honor that as well. And so we're hoping that a true CBA could be drafted. Communities already, the Western Community Council has an ad hoc committee that they formed last night. They'll be meeting and discussing. There are other groups that are still coming to the table in the West End that want to be a part of this. And so anything that you've heard prior to this, stating that there's this budget and there's this agreement that's already out, this is still coming together, and we need more time. We were told by experts that it takes about 6 months. We don't have 6 months, but we were told by experts that it takes about 6 months for communities to really get together and draft their community benefits agreement and negotiate them out. So we don't have that much time, but we do ask for more time that the community can come up with their own community benefits agreement, present it to the developer, and then have that presented to you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna ask the last 4 speakers to come up: Ethel Black, Christopher Griffin, Tom Savoca, and Julie Sellers.
Good afternoon. My name is Ethel Black, and I've been in the West End for 35 years. I've raised 5 children in the West End. Thank God they grown and gone now. But at this point, I am now raising a grandson in the West End, and I got him when he was a year old. He's now finna be 14. And the West End is the only community he knows. Our home is the only home he knows. So I just don't see me taking him out of the only home he knows to take him somewhere to have him killed, because that's what's going to happen. And I ain't crazy. I know the West End was terrible when I moved down there, but it's good now. It's no kids hanging on the street corners no more. None of that. It's all cleaned up now. So I don't want to take my grandson out of the West End. If it was just me, I would have been left this. But I got a grandson to think about. And I have a bad heart. So ever since this been going on, I've been stressed about losing my home. I don't care about the money. I just care about my grandchild. Thank you.
Next speaker.
They know, I called their names in order.
Let me get on. How y'all doing, everybody? My name is Christopher Griffin. I know I've been at every meeting, West End resident, 30 years. I just want to let you guys know that when I walk in the West End, it's nothing to be proud about. It's nothing to say that, proud to say that I live in the West End. It's nothing down here. I want investment, and I think FCC is going to be an investment that we need. Economically, people in the West End are struggling. And like I said, I never write anything down, but this is just me coming from the heart, and I feel like it's the best option because if we don't get the stadium, we get Drees homes. And I know nobody in the West End can afford that. I know that. And like they said, last night, they did have a unanimous decision not to want, FCC to come in to the West End. But it's a slap in the face to say, we don't want them in the West End, but we want your money that if you do come. That makes zero sense to me. I don't know about y'all, but that's what I say. It makes zero sense. If you didn't want them in, you shouldn't have even asked for a CBA. But that's just coming from me, and I don't represent any council. I'm just representing myself, and I feel that is a major slap in the face to anybody who is willing to come into your neighborhood and help you. You say you don't want them, but then on the other hand, you say, yeah, come on, but when you come, bring your money along with it. And I just feel that's wrong. I'm sorry, I feel that's wrong, and that's just me. And that's just where I'm at. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, excuse me, I have half a voice today, but thanks for having me back. Just wanted to give a quick kudos to the board members who traveled to our nation's capital to represent Cincinnati and give what we have to offer and also receive what our nation has to offer. So thank you for doing that. I consider this whole conversation truly to be a privilege and an opportunity for this city, and I thank you all for being so respectful to the process that has unfolded here. It's needed, it's appreciated, it's unique, and again, I consider it a privilege, so thank you. Regarding what happened with the West End Community Council meeting last night, a really interesting meeting. I'm lucky enough to attend that as well as all these preceding meetings. We had a vote of 50 individuals who said no to the stadium coming. For perspective, that represents 0.8% of the estimated 6,200 community members in the West End. So just to put those 50 votes in perspective, they are important, but ultimately a nominal amount, the same way that the people who said yes were a nominal amount, relatively speaking. The other interesting thing was, and perhaps this is too large of a leap, but the next vote we had was, does the West End Community Council want to be at the table for a community benefits agreement? And obviously the majority vote there was yes. I brought up the question, if we vote no to the first, do we really have a meaning in our vote for the second? Point being that how can a community vote no to a stadium and yes to a community benefits agreement, which to me is a clear statement that we do in fact need community benefits without supporting the underlying agreement. So just pointing out a little bit of a counterintuitive thing there. This community has stated that it wants benefits. The stadium is obviously ruffling feathers as maybe not being the way that everyone sees us getting there. I happen to believe it is the way we will get there. So I ask that today you all vote yes to allow FC Cincinnati to continue to be at the table and hopefully step up and pay all the money that you deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to share that we thought we were down to the last speaker, but somehow we have 2 speakers who did sign up and their papers were displaced. So I'm going to ask Julie if she minds just holding on for these next 2. Josh Spring and Stefan.
Josh Spring, Executive Director of the Greater Cincinnati Homeless Coalition. We represent 60 different organizations across this county and our 52 neighborhoods. We are used to commonly hearing whether we are organizing people in a neighborhood, in a large building owned by an out-of-town slumlord, wherever we are used to hearing they're just the rabble-rousers, and we are rabble-rousers, and that, you know, the group that's coming out and saying no or yes, as it may be, is just a small group of people. And I want to point out that that's the age-old, that is the age-old fight against what folks behind me do, is to say they don't really represent much of anything. But the fact is that when we knock on doors and we talk with people, we never once, not once, have to tell people what they need or what they should believe. Not once, because they already know. The folks in the West End, as soon as they heard this, the majority of people already knew they were a no. They didn't need to be told that. They didn't need to be convinced. They knew it because they're smart and they're experienced. And to say anything else, to say that people have just been talked into this, people aren't educated enough to take a vote now, people don't have enough information to see the opportunity they are missing, anything like that is just simply an attempt to ignore people and say that people are less than people. And we're not okay with it. The folks in the West End have clearly spoken repeatedly. It was 50 people last night representing far more than 50 people. If you walk the street in the West End and I guarantee you walk up to any random person and say, do you want this stadium? The answer is going to be no. It's going to be no. Almost every single time. And so this is one, I must say, this board did surprise a good bit of people, maybe including Jeff Birding, by saying that you're unwilling to take less money than our children are due. And that is right. How does a company come to the school board and say, here's our final offer on what we're willing to pay in taxes? How does that happen? Because they're used to getting their way. I'm going to finish, just to give me 1 minute.
Mr. Springs.
I'm going to finish.
Everybody gets 3 minutes.
All right, listen up. So the fact is that it is time for you to put this. It is time for you to put this to sleep.
Turn the mic off, please.
It is time. I can talk loud.
Okay,
It is time for you to put this to sleep because the residents of the West End, this is not just a political game to them. This keeps people up at night.
Let's go, Mr. Springs.
Hold on.
Let's go. No, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. The 3 minutes are up. Okay? You're no better than anybody else.
I know that.
Okay? So let's go.
Stefan?
Hold on.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Mr. Springs?
All right, if you get out of my face, back up, back up.
Move over.
Back up.
Move over.
I'm gonna move over, back up.
Mr. Springs?
Back up,
You don't tell me what to do.
back up.
Okay. Stefan?
Sorry about that. You start me?
Yes.
All right, that was a commercial break. We sorry about that. Commercial break. He was just mad. You know, ain't no wrong to be mad. Well, I like this job with scripture first. We ain't been talking about God, nothing we've been doing here, y'all. We got to put God in the mix, what we doing. So book of Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed from lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I also reject you. I'm gonna leave it right there. Think about that. I thought about the FCC when they had y'all on the news with a deadline. I said, these school board members, grown people, they talking to y'all like y'all child. Y'all better come up with something by 5:30. If y'all don't, it's over. They like really trying to rush y'all to do y'all business. So guess what? Say no to their business. That's what y'all should do. We still got some supporters in here for the FCC because they got some money coming. Yes, they do. They got some money coming, man. I know what's going on. People still getting paid. They ain't backing off yet. They doing these secret meetings. Ain't telling nobody. Then they got stuff down at City Hall with Harry Black. It's all a smoke screen, but it add up to who gonna sign these multi-million-dollar deals. It's up to y'all, ladies and gentlemen, up here on this school board. It's in y'all hands. Say no, Ms. Bolton. Say no. They don't want to give y'all $2 million, 2.8, wasn't it? They said, nah, that's too much. We want to give y'all $750,000. Nah, don't do it. They got the money. $250 million. My fault, cost $150 million to enter the MLS. So the stadium might cost maybe $100 million, so they might come down to 1.5 for y'all taxes. Don't fall for it. Think about a plan they should already had in place before they even came to see y'all. Nope. They wanted to play y'all. I went down in the West End area, and the houses are next door to the stadium right now. Man, you can touch the next building, next across the street. That's how close it is. You know them gonna be gone. It's up to y'all. They took over the Rhine, Avondale, Bond Hill, gentrification, without any representation. They just taking stuff because money don't mean nothing. It might make you look good. You might want to smell good. You might buy a nice thing. But at the end of the day, that money gets shredded and thrown in the garbage. So you done sold people's souls out over trash that they throw away money. Put it right back in the cycle. Put up new money. We're not kids, y'all, and y'all not no kids. One thing about these schools, too, they need an x-ray system in their school so they can stop them shootings. Instead of metal detector, get an x-ray. They do at the airport.
Mr. Stefan,
I love
thank you so much.
Thank you for finding my files.
Thank you. I want to thank all of our speakers, and clearly I want you to know, I'm sorry, Ms. Sellers. Go ahead. I forgot. You were the last one. Sorry.
I'm always the last one.
Yes, you are.
I want to say good afternoon to everyone today, but I want to say thank you for hanging through this difficult process and having a resolution concerning the future tax deal with FC Cincinnati and standing strong on this debate by looking out for the district and the taxpayers of Cincinnati Public Schools. I am glad that you have included the CBA, that has to also be in place, but the way it's being rushed, I don't know how they can get a CBA that people will really trust. Right now, I believe that there is a broken trust between the FC Cincinnati and the community. But I would like to point out that The West End is not the only location, and the resolution that you have today is concerning Stargell Stadium. But I want to make sure that if it goes to Oakley, you're going to stand strong, that there will also be a CBA with the Oakley community, and that they will also pay their fair share of taxes in Oakley. Because people are thinking, well, they'll go to Oakley and it won't cost them as much. But they still have to pay what is the negotiated rate of their taxes. We are not asking them to pay more than what the signed agreement is. All we're asking them to do is pay their negotiated discounted rate. That's all. And for anybody to say that the district or the board is being unfair asking for the negotiated rate, that is a break of a contract that was signed by the city and the board. And all you have to do, that agreement has not expired. It makes it perfectly clear to me that that's the agreement that you should be following on how much they should pay in taxes. Secondly, but there's a lot of people throughout this process who are really stressing out, and I think you can see that from the people who are here today. This is causing anxiety for people in their lives. And the sooner a decision is made, I think the sooner it will help people who are being stressed out. But I'm also glad that the district is moving forward with the equity policy that is needed. But I would like to make sure that the district's budget also reflects that equitable procedures within the district. We need to make sure staffing is done equitably. We need to make sure that resources are given to educators equitably. We need to make sure that it isn't just a policy on a piece of paper and then everything is denied by the treasurer. We should be able to fund what is right for our children. This year, CFT's teacher leadership cohort, many of the teachers in this year's group, they are focusing on equity and having equitable staffing and resources across the district. So when we are asking for a policy, I think that the board needs to stand strong and make sure that the treasurer is funding for our students, especially in schools where there's high poverty. One example of inequality, and you can see it right in your board briefs that you're going to be voting on, is why are we having still this number of overloads in combination classrooms? When you talk about equity and you have a school that is high poverty and you have classrooms that are not following what the collective bargaining agreement is for that class size, and you have kids sitting in a room with more than 30 kids, and they are saying, well, we'll just pay you overload, that's not fair to those children. It's not fair that we are spending that kind of money on overload and not hiring the staff for teachers to have a small enough classroom that they can provide equitable experiences for every child in that classroom. And I would also like to thank you for the school safety and reducing gun violence because that also needs to be funded. Number one, enhance mental health services and substance abuse treatment so that individuals will have sufficient access to the services. Is that going to be funded? Increase access to school safety measures, including but not limited to school resource officers, school safety infrastructure, and other security measures designed to protect students and staff from an active shooter on school grounds. Is that going to be funded? Training for school employees and enhanced coordination with law enforcement agencies and first responders, is that going to be funded? And this is something that also the city of Cincinnati needs to be making sure that they're funding some of these agencies so that our schools are safe. It is not just the school board's responsibility, but it's our whole city's responsibility because the violence, even in this city, is escalating. And just like Craig's son, children should not be taught throw a pencil at an active shooter. What is that doing to our children and teachers? It's causing too much stress. So all I want to say is, I hope that our budget this year reflects what our values are. Because you can tell me whatever your values are, but if you don't fund it and it isn't in your budget, then that's not a priority for you. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sellers. We're about to move into our next agenda item. Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, even though so many of the folks that are here often and have been, it might be best just to remind people why.
I was getting ready to do that.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Great minds.
Yes. For those of you, you heard the buzzer go off as Ms. Sellers was speaking, and she is the president of the Cincinnati Federation of Teachers, and by contractual agreement, she's exempt from the 3 minutes. So I agree that it's important for you to know that, because I'm sure there may be people who have not been to our meetings before who were wondering why we were allowing her to continue. So that is the reason why. Okay, so we're going to move on. There are a couple of things that I'd like to change the order of the resolutions because one of us needs to leave, and we want to make sure we have a full board for that. But also, as we move on to presenting the resolution, I need to entertain a motion for a 48-hour waiver of the revised copy.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Vote, I'm sorry, Ms. Treasurer? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates. Mrs. Bolton.
Aye.
Mrs. Copeland Dansby.
Yes.
Mr. Messer.
Yes.
Mr. Morowski.
Aye.
Mr. Timmons.
Aye.
Ms. Jones.
Aye. Okay, thank you. So, sort of as a prelude to introduce this resolution, just wanted to make sure that people knew that this copy has been recently revised, and if you want a copy of the revised version, it is out. Is it out front, Lauren? Okay, it'll be out here, and please pick up the revised copy. Okay, so I'd like to present a resolution approving offer to exchange property with FC Cincinnati. A motion. It's a motion.
So you need a second.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Please call the roll, Ms. Warwick.
Discussion and comment.
Discussion. Do board members have questions, comments, and open for discussion? Thank you. Discussion or comments?
I do.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Copeland Dansby.
Well, first I want to thank my colleagues who sit here with me for the extreme hard work that we've put forth with this issue, and especially thank you to our community who has unwaveringly been present and involved. I think it was our board president who said some time ago that this decision would make some people happy and some not so happy. I don't think it's about that at this point. I think it's, for me, about the specificity of the resolution and perhaps the way that it is put together. So, as usual, I love hearing from our public, and I've even taken away a couple new things just today. And I think that a couple of the things that I heard today might be important to consider as we move forward. I think one of the biggest things that I heard was something that has been ringing in my brain, and it's the message that we got from FC a week ago. I've been out of town, I've lost track of days, but that said there was no reason for further conversation after we presented the same information that's in this resolution. So for me, it is a little bit challenging as to why we're presenting a resolution when we've been told there is no reason to continue to talk. So with that said, I'll pass the baton if there are any other comments from board members.
Mr. Messer?
I would like to echo the comments
and thank everyone, no matter which side of the coin you spoke about today and in the countless other engagement opportunities that we've had in this process. I have stood at that podium and at podiums at City Hall, et cetera, and you know, it's not easy. Lots of people have commitments, and you've cleared your schedules to come and make sure that your voices are heard, and very proud of my board for making that a priority. And I hope that other governmental bodies and elected officials will take note of that, because we have to engage more with our public, and there has to be more transparency when the public's business is being done. I will say that the thing that I have taken away is a clear understanding of why I and many people on this board are doing what we do. It's not because we're paid big salaries, which we're not. It's not because it's easy, because it's not. But I think we are all unified in our passion to ensure that the children in Cincinnati public schools receive the best education possible. And that takes money. And I have learned in my short tenure just how some of those decisions have been made at City Hall when this board is not necessarily in the driver's seat, that have not been in the best interest of our children. And it's really unfortunate. But I also know that I am passionate about ensuring that we have future conversations beyond today, that it's not just about the stadium, it's about ensuring that everyone pays their fair share of taxes for the simple purpose of we have amazing things happening under the direction of some of the best leadership I've experienced in any organization, with our superintendent, our treasurer, and other people, and a passionate board. The only way we can do that work is if we have those funds to do it. And so I thank everyone for engaging in the process. I hope that this is just the start of what is a much broader community conversation about what's important in our city, and a lot of that focus should be on our children.
Mr. Borowski, followed by Ms. Bolton. Did you have your hand up? Sorry.
So to echo both of those comments, again, thank you to everybody that's here today and everybody that's come out for the past 2 months to help us learn about the needs of the West End community. And thank you to President Sellers, the CFT, for keeping at the forefront of our mind the fact that we operate a number of schools on some fixed costs, but we have variable revenue due to an unconstitutional funding mechanism in the state of Ohio, which is why we've been so adamant on asking for close to our fair share. Now, I'd like to point out that in this resolution, the number $2 million keeps getting thrown around because the number we've always received from FC Cincinnati is $250 million. So to be very clear, in the resolution, we are asking that FC Cincinnati abide by the 1999 agreement, which is, very roughly speaking, 25%. So you can read it on your own, or go to CEJC Facebook page. They have some good information on it. So again, we have fixed costs to educate some 37,000 children, and we have variable revenue. And to Board Member Messer's point, things happen to us, always. And we very rarely have an opportunity to have a say in this kind of deliberation or negotiation. And the only reason we do is because of Stargell Stadium. So I would just like to add one thing that's not in our resolution. I'm not asking that we amend the resolution. I think we've gone to great lengths to be public about all this. The reason we're voting today, the way I understand it, is it was always part of the promise that we would ultimately vote. So we are today. One thing I would like to add is that I feel this resolution shows this, but I would like to be direct about it. A big part of the reason we've even tried to hold people's feet to the fire regarding a CBA is we have heard very, very loudly and very clearly, and all of us, I believe, are in agreement that we are not happy with the historical mistreatment and lying of the West End and West End residents. And that is why we have been so adamant in trying to use our position of power in a very, very rare case to ensure that a community benefits agreement that actually benefits the community will be legally binding and enforced if this goes through. So that's not here in one of the whereases. I just wanted to point that out. And again, thanks to everybody that's helped us to get to this point and supported us.
Thank you. Ms. Bolton?
Yes, I had not planned to speak, but I do want to make a few points now that other folks have spoken with great clarity. First, I think we've heard tremendous and compelling testimony regarding the stadium, and no neighborhood knows better than the West End that not all economic development is good or should be welcomed. But the reality for me is that I actually think the City Rama development is a greater threat than the stadium for the history and the future of West End. So that's part of my reasoning. The other piece is that people are talking in terms of Oakley. We have no leverage in Oakley. We have leverage here. And the larger issue for all of us that care about the future financial well-being of the district is that we must make the case, and we've stood firmly with your help, we've stood firmly that we have to have for our children and our families in our district and for the future our share of the taxes, which is really quite minimal. And this is the only place we can make that case, especially looking forward to a year hence when we have to negotiate with the city that has been silent throughout this, having us do all the work, frankly, and the community do all the work. The reality is we have to negotiate with those people for the next decade or two. This is a place where we kind of draw the line, and it's been very hard. I am old enough to remember, because my dad worked on Building 75. I know the history of West End. I have visual images of the long history of the West End, and the most compelling thing I heard always was the great fear that your history in the West End was somehow going to be gobbled up, and that we were even a part of it because we were renaming our preschool. And we were guilty of that marketing that lost your history. We will not do that again. And the reality for all of us is that we must do what's best for the district. And I've been proud of the board, prouder of the community, disappointed in the city. And the reality is we have to vote because we promised you a vote, and you have a right to know where we stand.
Thank you. Ms. Bolton? Ms. Bates? Ms. Bates. I'm having trouble with names today.
That's all right.
But I know who everybody is sitting at this table.
Yes, thank you. This stand that we can take on this stadium and that we will be voting upon shortly is, in particular, the resolution is directed on the land swap and the agreement for FCC with Stargell. That's our jurisdiction. But by taking a stand with this resolution, according to the terms of the 1999 agreement with the city, we are taking a stand on future developments as well, and not setting a precedent. That would be a bad precedent for this district financially. Another initiative that you should know of that the board is undertaking, we have delegated to our audit committee a review of all the tax abatements and TIF districts and the impact of those on our district, and to ensure that all of the money that was agreed upon in these agreements are collected and are given back for the use of our children's education. What we haven't really emphasized, but is also part of this resolution, is, as we expressed earlier, our look at equity. And that's through our insistence that the new Stargell project will be constructed under the board's policy for minority inclusion and for supplier diversity. Not the cities, but the school boards, and the same policy we used for our facilities master plan, which we continue to improve with input throughout that process. And we will continue to improve that policy as well. So thank you, community, for working with us, giving us your input, talking to us, and we hope that we will continue to live up to the expectations of educating our children and ensuring that our district is protected in all we do.
Thank you. Mr. Timmons.
Yes. When I came on board, it was strictly about the kids. You know, I didn't understand, excuse me, I didn't understand about, well, nobody really did, but we didn't know the stadium was coming. And when I seen it coming, or after hear it coming, I'm listening to the people. Like the one young lady started crying. The other young lady had to be displaced when she was in Detroit. And now she feel like it's gonna be a problem again with her living here now. She feels threatened. And I understand that, you know, the money that we probably can get if we decide to go that route is gonna benefit our kids. I understand that. But I'm looking at the human side, the people side. That's the thing that's really bothered me with this. So really, I'm kind of torn in between with this because of the people, and that's, you know, that's strictly what I'm about. But again, I want to see our kids succeed too. But I just want to make just that statement.
Thank you. So before we do the vote, I want to make this final comment. And I also want to thank my colleagues here sitting at the table for the hard work and the diligence that was put into all this work from beginning to end, but in particularly regarding this resolution. And I agree with Mr. Timmons. This has been the hardest decision of my board life here at Cincinnati Public. Number one, because we didn't ask to be here. Number two, as Ms. Bolton stated, we've kind of been disregarded in terms of the work involved, and it was kind of laid on us as almost, it's a burden almost. And I don't want to say it in that negative of a way, but in reality, it has been. And we've given a lot of time to this effort. And as Mr. Morosky said, I too have been torn about how my vote's gonna go. But one thing I will say about this resolution is that we did not back down, and I think people need to hear that before we take this vote. We did not back down from our position about our fair share of taxes. What we did that I thought was excellent was revised it to reflect what we really wanted and expected in any kind of agreement. And so we feel that this is strong. It's a strong presentation of what we want. And I heard people talk about the CBA. I also heard people, a lot of the same people who've come every time to speak, I've now heard them say, what if? If the stadium, at first it was, we don't want it at all. Now it's, what if? If we get the stadium, then we can get this. And I need you to understand that that's exactly what we did. What if? So in order to have due diligence to this process, we looked at all angles and all sides of this. So having said that, I think, okay, and then we really need to close it out. Thank you. Mr. Messer, last comment.
Yeah, just one quick question. You know, I think the true test of leaders are not when it's easy, but when it's tough. And our president has done a fantastic job in this whole process. It's a little like herding cats in a situation like this, with so many people coming different directions, and probably her phone has been ringing off the hook for the past several weeks. And I just want to, on behalf of, I think many of us, say thank you for all of your efforts.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So it's been motioned and seconded to approve the resolution offering the exchange of property with FCC. Ms. Tworick, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates.
Aye.
Mrs. Bolton.
Aye.
Mrs. Copeland Dansby.
Yes.
Mr. Messer.
Aye.
Mr. Morowski.
Aye.
Mr. Timmons.
Aye.
Ms. Jones.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. And I apologize to the board and to the community. I have a doctor's appointment, sorry, that I must go to. So Ms.
Bates, would you please present the resolution for board consideration?
Yes, I have a resolution supporting school safety and reducing gun violence. It's kind of short, It's a very powerful resolution, so if you indulge me, I'd like to read it. And this has been worked upon by Ms. Bolton and Mr. Morosky and myself as directed by the board. Whereas the children and school employees of our nation deserve to attend school without fear, and their families deserve to send them to school without fear. And whereas gun violence among the youth of America has been on the rise, there is mutual responsibility of all citizens to share in the responsibility for the prevention of gun violence. And whereas in Ohio, local education agencies share the authority with the state, but maintain significant local control, and school board members, administrators, employees, community members, families, and students should work together with lawmakers, legal counsel, law enforcement, and security experts to determine how to best ensure safety from gun violence in their own local school district. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Cincinnati School Board of Education implores the President of the United States, the Governor of the State of Ohio, the United States Congress, and the Ohio General Assembly to prioritize the protection of students and school employees and volunteers by enacting legislation with funding for the following. 1, enhanced mental health services and substance abuse treatment so that all individuals, including children, have sufficient access to these services. 2, increased access to school safety measures, including but not limited to school resource officers, school safety infrastructure, and other security measures designed to protect students and staff from an active shooter on school grounds and at school activities. And 3, training for school employees and enhanced coordination with law enforcement agencies and first responders to ensure appropriate responses to incidents of violence in schools. Be it finally resolved that establish local control, which reflects community values and the professional judgment of local educators and law enforcement experts to determine the manner by which guns are to be present in schools, on campuses, properties, or district activities off campus be preserved. I present this resolution for adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comment or discussion? Ms. Bates.
Yes, when and if this resolution passes, this board intends to send this resolution to our county commissioners, to our city council, and the mayor to pass like resolutions and send all the resolutions as a united Cincinnati to the President of the United States, to Congress, to the General Assembly. And also our teachers union has passed their resolution, and Ms. Sellers has also agreed to do the same thing with their local unions so that the entire city and the unions in this city and anyone else who would like to pass this resolution, if we have councils, organizations, parent organizations, we can send them together and say Cincinnati is united to stop gun violence in our city, and we need your help.
Mr. Morales.
Thank you. On the topic of gun violence, since I said this last night, and this is sort of our house, I would like everybody here to know who's interested in public education that when Erica, Vice President Dansby, and I were in Washington, D.C., and we tag-teamed a lot of our events with Council of Great City Schools because there's a lot happening. On Monday, when I went to Capitol Hill, the message that was taken to our representatives, Wenstrup, Shabbat, Portman, and Brown, was that as an urban school district and with 69 other school districts, we asked for a reform on collection of gun use data, real mental health investment, a banning of assault weapons, requiring universal background checks, providing substantial funding for school safety measures, and I pleaded with all of them to not make us armed teachers. Lastly, you may have been familiar with the Stop School Violence Act. While it's nice, and it allocated $50 to $75 million for 50 competitive grants nationally, by comparison, the state of Florida allocated $400 million to school safety improvement. So while I passed around our sincere thanks that you passed the Stop School Violence Act, we need to have some serious discussions. And thank you so much to Ms. Bates and Ms. Bolton. We had different resolutions going around, and I feel this one is strong and gives us a strong case in Columbus. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Just a couple of things. First and foremost, I think we need to reassure our community that we are deeply committed and already have in policy that our schools and campuses are gun-free zones, and that at our high schools we have police officers who understand our children and know those buildings and would, like happened yesterday, be ready indeed to take care of our kids. So the most important thing for me is that we do not want the national government, and we certainly don't want the state government to force us into having any policy or arming any teachers or doing anything that our community is not in favor of. So local control is crucial, and that's being threatened both in Columbus and in Washington. The second thing is our schools, for many of our children, in many of our communities, our schools are the safest place they are in the day. And we understand that. So the city and the county and many organizations have an equal responsibility of making our communities safer for our children, so that when they come to school, they're not just looking for a safe place, but indeed they come ready to learn because they've been able to live in a community that's safe. Gun violence on our streets affects our urban kids as much or more than these terribly erratic and ugly, violent acts within the school. But local control is critical, and all of us have to be committed to reducing gun violence in and outside our schools.
So of course I would ditto the things that I've heard my colleagues mention here, and I did have a great opportunity the past several days to spend with the Council of Great City Schools, and one of the main focus areas had to do with the same sort of resolution being put together. And we did, as a board, with the Council of Great City Schools, vote on a resolution to move forward. And each district that was represented there, our task was to bring that back and ensure that we were intertwining it with our policy and moving it forward. And just because we're as great as we are, you guys were already working on this, so it's very perfect timing. And I too am very deeply concerned about the safety of all of our children, but especially in our school buildings. So I want to thank those of our facilities folks who are responsible for ensuring safety in our schools every day. As a parent of children who would be in school, I can't even describe what you might think or feel thinking that your child was not safe in school. And so we are absolutely committed to that, and I'm glad to see this resolution present. Did we take a second? Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates.
Aye.
Ms. Bolton.
Aye.
Mrs. Dancy.
Aye.
Mr. Messer.
Aye.
Mr. Morowski.
Aye.
Mr. Timmons.
Aye.
I will present the next resolution. Thank you.
No,
Well, it looks like there are several.
It's just one.
Okay. But there's a board resolution amending several board policies.
Right.
Ms. Bates?
Yes, this is a resolution amending board policies 2255, Equity and Excellence in Education, 226002, Prohibition Against Harassment of Students and Staff, 3122, Non-Discrimination and Equal Employment Opportunity, Professional Staff, 4122, Non-Discrimination and Equal Employment Opportunity, Classified Staff, 5517.01, Bullying and Other Forms of Aggressive Behavior. I will present this resolution for adopted as printed to amend the said policies.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Morowski?
I just want everyone to know in a broad sense, in case you don't go to our website and read all our policies, what we're amending is we're adding Gender identity and expression to 2 policies that didn't have it, and just gender expression to a couple policies that already had gender identity. As some of you may be aware, we have been working with the Living with Change Foundation regarding awareness of issues transgender teens may be facing, and teachers as well. And so we felt that this was a really solid way to cover a lot of our policies, and adding gender expression, which I got to say, I want to give us another kudo. We're kind of at the forefront of this, and we're sort of proud of it. So I just wanted to let everybody know that's what we're doing. We're amending these 4 policies to reflect a more open, non-discrimination policy in the district.
Thank you. Any other comment or discussion? Ms. Torek, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Bolton?
Aye.
Mrs. Copeland Dansby?
Yes.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Aye.
Mr. Timmons?
Thank you. Superintendent Mitchell, do you have a report?
I do. I have a number of things I'd like to report upon. First of all, I'm sure everyone has noticed that today school was closed, a school day. So I feel compelled to just reiterate to the public that we always err on the side of safety for our kids. At 4:30 this morning, the communication that we were receiving is that a heavy band of snow would be coming at about the time kids would be getting on buses, and that some of the roads were slick. So we did decide to close school, but again, it's to err on the side of safety for our students. Just a reminder, we have approximately 29,000 kids who are transported by bus or walk to school, and so we want to make sure that all of our kids are safe en route and on their way home. Would also like to report, last Friday, there was a press conference at DHL across the river that really highlights a significant program that we started this year for 2 schools that have graduating seniors who are interested in logistics. These seniors are involved in 2 8-week courses, logistic courses, provided by Cincinnati State on our campuses. They will also receive financial literacy during these 2 8-week courses, as well as a certification. Upon completion of the courses successfully and financial literacy and a paid co-op through DHL, then they will be offered a job at DHL. And so they were able to receive, as you can see in the picture, some of our students who are there, their jerseys and some shoes to go along with the work that they'll be doing. This is very exciting. This is a paid co-op opportunity for those kids who do decide to go with employment for DHL. They will receive full benefits as well as the opportunity to earn tuition reimbursement. So we're really excited about this partnership with DHL, United Way, Cincinnati State, PNC Bank, Cincinnati Works, and Supply Chain OKI. Tremendous lift in terms of making sure that our kids are ready from graduation to go into the world of work. This is just first of many to come. We also launched the second half of the school year a cybersecurity program at Taft High School. We will have a press conference regarding that partnership with Belcan, and that will be on April the 11th at Taft High School at 9:30. So we welcome people to come to that. Very exciting news. And this is probably one of the most exciting things that I have to say all day, and that is next week is spring break, and everyone is looking forward to a break. So a much needed rest after a very long winter. So we really hope for our students that they have a very safe spring break. And for our staff members, my real wish to you is that you take off time to enjoy yourself, enjoy your families, and enjoy your friends. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the revised recommendations of the superintendent?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Hort, please call the roll.
Ms. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Bolton?
Aye.
Mrs. Copeland Dansby?
Yes.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to approve the report of the treasurer?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Hort, please quickly call the roll.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Bolton?
No, aye.
Mrs. Copeland Dansby?
Yes.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Aye.
Are there any updates or inquiries? Yes.
I think you might help me. It might be a assignment because I have a little few of those. At our legislative breakfast, Representative Seitz mentioned that there was a House bill pending, and it dealt with the possible redesign of the Ohio report card, school and district report card. He was asked to send his information to you, and if we could, I don't know if he ever did that, and if not, could you please request it again? Because I think there was interest on the board about how that might look, and he seemed interested in having us participate in that. I think another inquiry. My understanding as chair of student achievement, and what we heard when we were at Westwood School, that capstone projects are a part of the opportunity to graduate, one of the pathways. I've been told by some staff members that we have only one approved manner or approach to capstone, and that if you could see if we could do more, we could expedite it through student achievement and the board if it has to be approved by the board, just because we're fortunate that we do that, as you all pointed out, and have been doing that for years with the help of GE. But if there's, I think you might want to see if there's more different and multiple kinds of capstone projects that could be adopted. Maybe that's the way to say it. And if we need to adopt it, I'm sure the board would be happy to do that if it helps more kids. Thank you. It's my update, inquiry, whatever.
Excellent.
If I may, if I could just report on, this is an update since last week. It's regarding graduation. So the work of our curriculum team, as well as Kelly Broscheid and Sarah Trimble Oliver and Bill Miles, real kudos to them for being able to identify students who can meet a graduation requirement through certifications that are related to career tech.
Yes.
And that is an area that we had not been exploring in the past. And so we were able to identify like 18 students from a specific school that through their career tech pathway and certifications that they could receive their requirements to graduation. So just wanted to give you that update since last week.
That's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to inquire about the forum that was held related to later start times a week or so ago. I don't know that we've received a formal update or anything. Sorry. Yeah, I know.
Lauren Worley, Chief Communications and Engagement Officer. And yes, last Thursday we had about nearly 100 people join us here for a community meeting to discuss later school start times. We were really thrilled to have presentations from Dean Beebe, Gilda Vargas Adams, and Ted Meyer, who is here from Metro. So we've created some next action steps that we'll be supplying to the Student Achievement Committee and, of course, the whole board. And we're also going to be creating a landing place on the website so that all this information can be collected. There's a lot more next steps. The city's team, PG Sittenfeld's committee, will be meeting to put on a hackathon to look at not only Metro data that would be relevant to school routes for CPS, but could also be really relevant to creating efficiencies for Metro just generally. There's a lot more studies to be done. We're also working with the Council of Great
City Schools.
You know what I'm trying to say. On some reports on what some other districts have done. We'll likely make a recommendation that Metro take a look not just at one route change, but doing 2 start times as a possible data crunch, if you will.
Okay.
And our goal, I think we have nearly 60 people who've signed up to receive regular updates on the topic, so we'll be communicating with them more. And so
great.
we'll be sure to get that report to you as soon as possible.
I appreciate that. My only question has to do with community input and student input. There were a couple students that I caught on the media that were voicing their opinion, and I'm just curious as to how we are including.
Absolutely, and we're actually really excited because, as I think we've noted, they're probably our most important stakeholder in this. Member Morosky has put a challenge to the Student Voice cohort on this topic. We'll also, in April, be working with Sarah Trimble Oliver on a thought exchange project that includes students primarily. We've initiated a more informal survey of them as well, and we'll be sharing that data. And last I checked, about 400 students had replied. But we'll be doing something a little bit more formal too, so that you can really get a good sense in what you're hearing from them, as well as the community members. And just to add, and you may add this, Member Bolton, as well, we really want to make sure that the folks we're hearing from are represent the diversity of our community and diverse voices. And that was an important thing that we talked about at our meeting, and we'll continue to look for ways to do that.
Excellent, thank you. Are there any assignments? Ms. Morosky.
So this assignment is actually in light of the equity presentation. So while it's in regard to the equity policy, I believe it's probably for student achievement. And so, Ms. Bolton, you can let me know, or Ms. Bates. Now I'm going to confuse your names. Okay. So the assignment would be, I watched on the sidelines while CPS got to a point where every single school had AP programs, which I thought was awesome. And now I'm here. And I'd be curious to see, if possible, a breakdown of the high schools by the racial makeup of the schools, socioeconomic status, if possible, and then the same breakdown per AP class, just to ensure that the AP is being equitably, people have equitable access, and if people don't, and the way, again, from the sidelines, the way I understood it, the Spencer Center was added, that exceptional piece was added to sort of help promote more of this, and I would just, if it's all the same, I'd love to just get a report of it to see where we're at. And I suppose, is that student achievement? We'd look at it? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. Ms. Bates.
Yes, since we have passed our gun violence resolution, I want to make sure that the follow-up is made in assignment form. And so I want to make an assignment to our board president with the support of our board office administration to put together the letters to the county commissioners, to city council, and to the mayor with a copy of our resolution requesting that they pass like resolutions and send them back to us by a said deadline.
Okay.
Do you have that, Phyllis? Yay, okay.
In addition, we will make sure, so I've pulled this resolution out and highlighted some very specific areas to President Julie Sellers' point in terms of the mental health services, the SROs, the training, and the law enforcement experts. So we will make sure that we will be actively working on this, as well as building this into our budget for presentation to the board.
I think that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. Ms. Bolton.
An assignment, again, a follow-up to that legislative breakfast. I know that it was Representative Trahar who asked and talked in terms of financial literacy. I think it would be a good matter of PR as well as a follow-up if he were to receive more of an extended letter about how much we do regarding financial literacy, because obviously he was, he needed to know more than he did about where we are, and I know that's a priority. And the other issue would be, it would be good to see a running total of the cost of overload when we have our budget retreat, so that perhaps we can make other decisions. And then for the whole board, I guess Ms. Davis can check with all of us. We are scheduled to have another ACES meeting, I think, relatively soon. So I don't know if that's, I think it's April, actually, and we probably need to, so we can stay on our schedule, we probably need to come up with the topics, even if she'll just share the long list again so we can vote or add or subtract. Thank you.
Okay. Any others? I would like to assign all of us to take our superintendent's recommendation and have a good spring break.
That sounds good.
Thank you. No, I said we're adjourned.
Okay, thank you.
I'm so sorry.
We were all gonna sit here while you.
No.
Are we allowed to go there? Good work, everybody.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, I wanna go eat.
Okay, back to Wendy.
All right, that's your meeting, Ryan.
Thank you, guys.
Good work, everybody.
Thank
With me.
you.
Crazy schedule, yeah.
Thank
So,
you.
I've got it all held until I get back there. Thank you. See you soon.
See you later.
No, I'm not that.
Are we doing?